The bigger problem is that if we come to a day where countries start running out of water, people are not going to simply lay down in the field and agree to die. They're going to pick up and move. We're going to have a new expression called water refugees. Here's what we need to understand. Even if you're in a place that has lots of water like Brazil does, and of course the Amazon River example is confusing, and because we say that Brazil has 15% of the world's water resources, but that's very misleading because 80% of that water is the Amazon River, and that's not where people are, agriculture is, or where industry is. So the other 20% of the water, much of that is polluted. So Brazil actually has something, if not a water crisis, something of a water shortage. The bigger problem is that if we come to a day where countries start running out of water, people are not going to simply lay down in the field and agree to die. They're going to pick up and move. We're going to have a new expression called water refugees. And water refugees will be extremely destabilizing for the world. We already have, millions of refugees on the move because of war and terror around the world. Those numbers will be nothing compared to the numbers of people around the world who are at risk of running out of water over the next 5 to 10 years. We need to fix the water profile of these people to protect them, but also to protect the rest of the world from being inundated with refugees with all of the consequences that come with that. Almost 9% of the economy of Brazil and about 10% of the workers of Brazil are involved in agriculture. And this would create an enormous upheaval to the country if suddenly you found yourself in a way where you couldn't have these exports and you couldn't have this labor. So it would be enormously disruptive. Aside from the fact that Brazil itself is self-sufficient in almost all of its foodstuffs, and that would set off all kinds of food crisis, I would say also that if Brazil could suddenly stop growing food, and I can't even imagine that as a concept, the effect would not be felt just in Brazil. It would be found all over the world. Brazil is the world's second leading food exporting country. And as a result, hundreds of millions of people around the world, probably billions of people around the world, would need to find a substitute for that food. If we were to see that, I think we'd be seeing a world in a horrific crisis. I hope that we never see anything close to that scenario. I think that there's a real problem, which is that I think that there's a very real chance that the crisis, now that it's mostly past, is going to go to waste. It seems to me that people have to not just experience crisis, but they have to learn from crisis, and they have to change thinking, change culture, which will lead to a changed behavior. What happens is we see this in America with the California drought. A year or so after the drought is over, people go back to their old habits. What's needed more than anything else is to change culture, which will lead to change behavior. And I would say that politicians and others want to encourage people to go back to normal, but normal can be dangerous, and therefore it seems to me that's why I say this was a wasted opportunity. We can have a great water future, every one of us, with smart engineering and smart technology and smart practices and smart culture, if we demand it. We have to take leadership and demand it. And until we do, we're going to end up having a water system that will be, at best, okay, but never great. So this is my book, and in the Portuguese edition. And what I would say is that what you need to understand is that there's no one solution. I talk about this in the book, that you need to take the perspective that you need to look at many different solutions, different technologies, different form of governance, pricing model, culture. You need to change the way people behave using market and using pricing as a mechanism for that. And the model for Israel is really a very good one because Israel does so many things correctly and amazingly in the water sphere that some part of that is of value to everyone everywhere, whether it's a rich country or a poor country, a large country or a small country, a landlocked country or a country with a long sea coast. Every country has something to learn from the Israel experience. I know 3 words in Portuguese. I'm going to use them all right now. Oba.
Oba.
Obrigado.
Obrigado.
And agradecido.
John.